Hey everyone, welcome back to Gaming in the Keats. I'm your host Chris, and yes, we are doing a version 3.0. Finally, it is here. Yeah, very excited to bring you the 3.0 battle report. Um, some of you may or may not know, I've been doing a little bit of play testing for the 3.0, and yeah, it's I've been really enjoying that experience. Um, Also, it has been a hot minute. I've had a lot of big life changes in the last month or two. Um, and yeah, like the ninth age, honestly, aside from playtesting, hasn't really been on my to-do list. um, but yeah, new job, moved back into the city, that being Baltimore City, and um, yeah, just a lot of great things happening. So now that I kind of solidified what my weekend schedule looks like, I can actually play more ninth age if I so choose. But but alas, let's get on to the battle report. All right, so we're going over Dread Elves, and this is the 3.0 Dread Elf shenanigans. So I will just disclaimer say right off the top here that this isn't. I would not consider this very quote unquote optimized. Um, uh, Compared to like what the new rules and units do in general, but we can go over that another time in terms of list building and 3.0 discussions and etc. things of that nature. We'll see. But in the meantime, I'm rocking the Merry Christmas Manticore, and you'll see why it's Merry Christmas in a few slides later. The Dread Prince, she's the extraordinary specimen because duh, and the general because double duh. Not really. I don't think it's good to have the general on the Manticore, but I just thought it'd be fun. Um, and she's doing the great weapon with Elven Finesse on supernatural dexterity, so she's offense defense 10. So for 10 points, she's like innately distracting to most things, which is awesome. Um, she has a 3 up, 5 up save. I'm loving like the new armor changes to mounts that are height 4 and 5. It's just a set armor class. Great, cool. I don't have to think about it. And for fun, I've given her a potion of healing. I really like it. She takes a lot of heat, and she becomes effectively like 6 health points. So I'm happy about it. And then we got my Warlock Master of Evocation. So I've taken Whispers of the Veil, so that's -1 resilience. Curse of the Damned, so that my unit gains Distracting and Horror, which horror means if you're in base contact with the unit and they break from combat, they roll minimized on their flee distance, which is pretty spicy. I like that. Spectral Blades, because that spell in 3.0 is awesome. It's just, your strength and your AP is always just set to 4. And then with +1 to wound for Dread Elves, it's just so nice. And advantage position, so you can get through the high res stuff. You can get through a lot. You cut through armor really easily, and so I enjoy that spell. It's high cost value, but I enjoy it. Then I'm trying out Soul Blade. That's like the magic missile where your opponent has to take a leadership test on the unit, and then you have to, if they pass, they roll a d6. I roll a d6, and they take d6 hits that I'm wounding on their courage value now, so that's the old discipline value. And then if they fail, I roll 2d6 hits. So I think it does have the potential to be like, I don't know. I think it looks better on paper than in actual practice, and this is from when I've been using it in the testing. So I don't know how I feel about it yet, but I brought it today. The Temple Exarch on alchemy, adaptive alchemy with molten copper, so another missile. Corruption 10, so -1 armor, and then living steel, so +1 to hit. That can be ranged or shooting and magical attacks. So, and then in this game, I take out the +1 to hit for me, and I put in my hereditary because I actually want. My opponent actually has a decent amount of armor on the table, so I want multiple ways of getting rid of his armor because for the most part I'm hitting all of his units on 3s or even 2s anyway, so I really don't need the +1 to hit. And then paired weapons for Kingslayer, so that will be I get 1 extra attack and then +2 strength and +2 AP if my character's in base contact with my opponent's unit. And I did double silent assassin. I think these guys are pretty fun now. They're like roughly the same, except for like they have rerolls to wounds against characters, and they have 5 attacks. So 4 attacks base and paired weapons, so 5 attacks, strength 4, AP 3. Let's fucking go. I'll take them, and they're attached, so you cannot pull them out of the unit. Same with the Kingslayer. You can't move her out of the unit. Oh no! I'm already catching myself. Oh my goodness. I'm already thinking about the battle report, and I already made a rules mistake. You'll see it. You'll see what happened. Oh, Chris. Anyway, 2 units of 25 temple militants with the sheltering standard, so that means because they have light armor, if they're wounded from an attack that is AP 3 or less, they at least always have like a 6-up armor save against it, which is awesome. And then they have a 6-up Aegis in 6-up Aegis in close combat. And we got 15 Corsairs with the musician, so not the shooting kind, just light troops and just buzzing around. Another potential assassin unit. 24 Obsidian Guard with the Eye of the Gorgon, so that's the petrifying stare, and then also the unit causes horror, which I really like. Again, the 8 dread. These are the dread acolytes, so they're like the warlock acolytes, but these are the combat ones, which are really cool, and I gave them a musician as well. A regular divine altar to do that 24-inch -1 courage bubble if you're in base. If you're in combat within the 24 inches, and then channel 2. I'm glad they made it channel 2 and not channel 3 because it was kind of ridiculous for 180 points. And then 2 units of black cloaks, one with repeater handbows and poison, and the other just with for free repeater crossbows. So, and it's exactly 4,000 points on the nose. So going over my opponent's list, I don't know what all of these things do, so forgive me, and there's a lot. But, so we've got double profit. 1 is an adept of pyromancy, and, oh god, yeah, adept of pyromancy. The other is an adept of alchemy, who took the same spells I did. And then, yeah, Fireball, Flaming Sword is roughly the same. Pyroclastic Flow is, 5d3 hits? So, a bit more reliable, perhaps. The General has Shield Breaker. And then he's got double Vizier, so we've got a Battle Standard Bearer with the Kingslayer, so nice. And Mask of Ages, I forgot what that did. I'm sure it will come up. And then he's got the other Vizier, which is the Ring of Desiccation, another Blunderbuss. He's got 20 Infernal Warriors with the stand and shoot, the shoot and extra rank banner, which is, that's rough. 20 Vassal Levies. We've got 20 Shackled Slaves, the Immortals with a Flaming Standard, 2 units of 3, Taruk, Anointed with Standard Bearers, and then 8 Vassal Cav and an After Thrower. So, Yeah, that's gonna hurt my squishy elves. All right, going into the pregame settings. This is a new map from the season pack, which is really fun. Um, so we got our primary objective now, because now we have primaries and secondaries, which is I think is really cool. Is secure target. If I'm correct, that's the one. Whichever one is where you place the two tokens 24 inches away from each other, and it's essentially like the most expensive scoring unit within 12 inches of the token scores it. I think that's how it worked, and that's how we played it. And then I rolled up on my secondary, which I got demonstrate superiority, so I had to kill my opponent's most expensive unit, which is the blunderbuss warriors. And then my opponent's secondary is enslave and ransom, which he has to either kill or run down at least 3 units in close combat. So I think his is definitely a lot easier to get than mine. I'm not gonna lie. But we'll see what we can do. So we got double water terrain feature here. Yay, Corsairs are gonna, have a bath. Ruins, we got a forest down here. We got a hill, we got a wall. We got a nice cheeky little wall here. And so my opponent, I won the side. I won the roll to pick sides. So I chose the side with the hill and the forest to give me some cover here. Oh, you know what I didn't explain? I didn't explain our deployment type. We rolled on the 6, so we have a pinched in deployment where we go 6 inches on either side of the board edge and then 12 inches up. So there's this little pinched little null zone. We're a bit more squished. But yeah, and then my opponent decides to drop for first, or at least attempt to get first, because now when you drop, you only get a +2 if you drop your entire army first. So there's a chance where my opponent does not get it. Alright, pre-game. Thoughts on the macro side of things. I don't feel like I can really push my opponent without just getting lit up from the flamethrower and the blunderbusses. Then he's also got the bows with the levies, and he's got pyro. So my opponent just outranges me. So it's one of those situations where you either have to like go for it and hope that you can just like overwhelm your opponent, or just like really try and sit back and see if you can get small points here and there. And so that's kind of my strategy, at least, is I'm going to go for the smaller points off on the sides where my opponent's shooting isn't really going to be as effective, hopefully. But we'll see how that goes. That's my sort of macro plan. I like how Pyro and Alchemy really synergizes well with his list, because he can give those blunderbusses +1 to hit, and so they hit no worse than 5. So like Living Still, for example, gives them 4s, and it's not fun. And then, yeah, like I said, my plan is to try to like capture the flanks. I think I'm probably just going to try and overwhelm one flank with the Manticore and the Acolytes, use them to kind of bulldoze through that one side, and then see if I can get in his back line and then cause disruption. And then once that sort of happens, if I can get on top of that flamethrower, for example, or just like tie up those blunderbusses with like units in his backfield, then I can push forward and try and get to him. Because his units do fight decently well. He's got the Volcanic Embrace guy, which, just grind attacks against my units of squishy elves is just, again, not fun. And then also, I learned this in the game. Anything with a dwarf keyword is now just stubborn. And what stubborn does now is it reduces, or you divide what you lost by in half. So if you lost combat by 4, then it goes to 2. So it's a bit different now. But I learned a bit too late that the Tark Anointed are also stubborn. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that works. So like I said, I'm going to try and use my light troop stuff to overload a flank and just be annoying. And then I also was thinking about trying to use my missiles to snipe the flame cannon and, using the assassins at the right moment, I think will be pretty important to help me blend through those infantry blocks of dwarves. Alright, so for deployment, let's go from left to right on my side. I have the poisoned black cloaks, which were provided by my opponent. He had the beautifully painted models. And then I have the Dread Acolytes off to the left. Then I have the Merry Christmas Manticore, because she's got her green and red, rocking those colors. You'll see here, this is actually a unit of 30. I correct this mistake very quickly. I realized I just had too many models on them because I just wasn't paying attention. But I pulled them off. So it's 25 Temple Militants, another the 24 Obsidian Guard, 25 Temple Militants again, and I think this one is where my Oracle Master is. We have the altar in the center, and then we have the Corsairs just chilling in the woods for now, and we have the Black Cloaks off to the side, ready to just be annoying. From my opponent's side, he's got Anointed, the Vassal Cavalry, the Shackled Slaves, the Immortals with his General and his BSB, so that's Kingslayer and the Alchemy guy. And we have the Flame Cannon right in the center. We have the Blunderbusses with the other two characters in there. So the Pyromancer and then the Volcanic Embrace guys in there. We've got the Vassal Levies with bows, and then the Tarok Anointed. So my thoughts on this deployment were I just wanted to deploy outside of that flamethrower range and away from the blunderbusses and his shooting. So that's why I kind of like whatever you want to call it. Like I deployed mostly everything on this left side and trying to push through here and use the hill to my advantage, like a bit of cover. And then have like a couple units, my light troops units out here, just to be annoying. So something we notice is that he's going to take dangerous terrains from the ruins and the water now because these Torok Anointed have metal armor. So my opponent, I think he was kicking himself because he played on the map before and he did the exact same mistake earlier. So he kind of boxed himself in here, and it does affect his decision making, I think, to my advantage later on. Here you can see the secured targets. The Corsairs are just going to pop around, and then if he ever exposes himself, I might decide to pop an assassin and charge him. We'll see. But when we do the roll-off, the +2 beats me, so my opponent does indeed go first. So, Infernal Dwarves, turn 1. My opponent marches up as so. He's saying, I don't care about your black cloaks. And he gets right outside my charge range here, 15. Vassal Levies just shimmy forward. I made a mistake with the Corsairs and left them within like movement and shooting range. So that's just on me. I shouldn't have done that. So he now just moves up everything to get some board position. So now the flamethrower is in range of my units, which sucks. And then he just chills with his Vassal Cav backwards. He moves up the Torok Anointed just outside of my charge range for the Dread Acolytes, because he's faced the Dread Acolytes before and he knows how well they can actually do in combat. And they are pretty awesome, I must say. So he's respecting them. Magic, I let off the flammable token on the Obsidian Guard, like the hereditary spell, and then I stop a pyroclastic flow. So that is basically it, and then he's able to hit the Corsairs as well and put another incendiary token on the Corsairs, but I think he only kills one. And then these goblins with bows, they might no, they don't kill one. So they didn't do anything to the temple acolytes there. All right, my turn one. So I move out the Corsairs because they're light troops. I just push them out to the side, just trying to be annoying. Tip the toe into the ruins here, and then I move outside of flamethrower range from the naphtha thrower, but unfortunately I couldn't really get out of range with the temple militants. I make a mistake. Here's a rules mistake right here. I moved out the Exarch with Kingslayer into the other temple militant unit, and I can't do that because Kingslayer makes the model attach. So I'm sorry, Aaron, I cheated. I can't do that. So that's on me. I totally forgot about it. So we'll see if it ends up making a difference. It can, just because it moves the character around. And so what I do here is, for my magic phase, my opponent lets me get Soul Blight up on his naphtha flower, and then I do 2 wounds to it with Soul Blight. My opponent stops the missile onto the other missile onto the anointed, and then I think that's it for my magic phase. It was a pretty small magic phase. Shooting, I don't do anything with the poison black cloaks, nor do I do anything with the black cloaks here. It's something to note, even though they're in the flank, so there's now this thing with advantage position, for those of you who may not know. If you're in your opponent's flank or rear, you can get advantage position on rolls to wound, but when it's ranged attacks, you have to stay put. You can't move, and since I moved, I don't believe I benefit from advantage position, so I was wounding on 6s instead of 5s. So, but yeah, that's something to keep note of for future turns. So, I didn't mention this on my last slide, by the way, but you saw that I just said, F it, and just pushed the Merry Christmas Manticore right up there to the Torok Annoyance, saying like, sure, go for it, charge me. I can take you. But I think I remember trying to do it in a way where it would it blocked the charge onto the acolytes from the anointed, so he couldn't physically charge them. And I think I tried to block the charge onto the black cloaks, but when it came time, when my opponent declared the charge, I think I just kind of didn't even look and was like, yep, you can charge them. And so I decided in that case, well, since he can make base contact with them, I'm just going to flee, and then my opponent has to roll a command test now. So it's 1 dice, and he needs a 4, 5, or a 6 to pass it because he does not have a musician. Musician would make him need a 3 to do it. And so it's literally just a 50-50 to be able to redirect into the Manticore, and he fails it. And this is big, because now we know when you fail charge, we know how far you go. And so I had pre-measured it so that the Manticore would be outside of 7 inches, because these guys are mobility 7 now. And so they fail forward 7 inches. So now the Manticore is about to eat those Torok Anointed, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. Granted, I know it was taking a risk, but it's a game of risk. Yeah, so anyways, my opponent, moves up to shoot some Temple Acolytes. My opponent moves up here. My opponent walks up. The blunderbusses are luckily only 12 inches, so he's still outside of shooting range here. But he's just walking up to get board position here. My opponent decides to turn to face the Black Cloak. So for me, I'm just like, great, please do that. Look at them. Don't pay any attention to the Corsairs, who are definitely going to like march right up here. So I think that was a bit of a mistake from my opponent's side. This time shooting, I think he takes off like 6 with the flamethrower, 6 militants. So, ow, that hurt. Magic, I believe I stopped Pyro Flow, and oh no, I think I also stopped the Hereditary. I was able to stop, I think he failed one spell, and then I stopped the Hereditary, like the one that gives me the incendiary token. So, oh no, you know what, I do see some, oh, you know what, I think I let a spell go off onto the Obsidian Guard, and it killed a few models there, which took away the incendiary token, and then, the flamethrower actually roasts, I think, 7. So that hurt. So that's it for shooting. Okay, so my turn 2, you can see the Merry Christmas Manticore going into the front of the Torok Anointed, because we double-checked it and it actually turned out to be a front. The Dread Acolytes charged his fast cav, and so he fled, which, that's fine, I don't care. I just want to get them off, like, as far away as possible, and I also know that they rally after the shooting phase now, so when you rally, even with feigned flight, they will rally, but they won't get to shoot me next turn, so I'm happy about that. So the Acolytes fail forward 9, and then I position up on the hill with the Temple Militants, and then the Obsidian Guard now actually push up, so now I'm in charge range of him, and with Diab Warfare, the new rule, if I'm part of a combined charge, I get to reroll my charges. So no more rerolling charges from the hill, but now I get to reroll my charges anyway if I happen to combo charge, which is really cool. And at this rate, I'm just kind of pushing up. I'm outside of his charge range, but like I'm saying, well, yeah, sure, roast these. Look at these Temple Militants. Please don't touch my Obsidian Guard. And I move my master, the Outcast, over to this unit of Obsidian Guard here. And then, as you can see, I push up with the Corsairs. I knew that if he charged here, I don't think he will, he goes 7 inches, so I tried to do it in a way where he couldn't get out of my line of sight if he happened to do it, and I just chose to flee, and to try and keep the blunderbusses in my arc. You'll see how well I did there, but the Corsairs move up unopposed. In Magic, I get another wound off onto this NAFTA thrower, and then I also get a -1 armor up on the Turok Anointed, and my opponent stops Soul Blight onto the NAFTA thrower, so it was Molten Copper that got another wound up. So, there you have it. So, Merry Christmas Manticore, she goes in, she says, Merry Christmas, and kills a Torok Anointed and puts another, I think, 2 wounds? Yeah, puts 2 wounds onto the second guy, and they swing back. She does take a wound for her trouble, as you can see, and this is where I find out that these guys are stubborn because they have the dwarf keyword. So, I mean, unit boundaries frozen, which is cool. So they had a rank anyway, and they had a rank and a banner, and they did a wound, so that's 3. I have a charge, and then I've done I think I did 4 wounds, so that's... No, I did... Yeah, so I did 5 wounds, so that's 6. So I win by 3, and then he halves it because he's stubborn, so it goes to 2. And so these guys are discipline 9, and he needs a 7, and he makes his check. So everyone sticks around there. Alright, my opponent's turn 3. He's pushing forward, and now because it's turn 3 with the primary, this is when we actually start to score. So his most expensive scoring unit within 12 of this marker is his blunderbuss. Mine within 12 of this unit is actually the obsidian guard, because my obsidian guard are more expensive than his blunderbusses. So my opponent moves up, and yeah, he's just like, you know what, I'm just going to just take out the, I'm just going to use these blunderbusses now. And he's able to actually get out of line of sight of the Corsairs. So I just messed that up, the angling there. That's on me, because I was trying to be cute and try and get the Turok anointed, continue to keep them in my arc if they just chose to charge. And they didn't, as you can see. They're just expecting the Corsairs now. So, darn. Magic. Oh boy. Yeah, magic. Combination of magic and shooting takes out some obsidian guard and take out some militants. And then I think my opponent made a mistake here. The flamethrower targets the militants. I think I made a mistake here. Or no, my opponent did, and he chose to shoot at the altar. Now I did let +1 to hit go off to stop something else, to stop the flammable from the flamethrower, and so he does do 6 wounds, and I make 2 Aegis saves. So the altar's alive on 2 wounds left. So I'm wondering, maybe my opponent just should have said, I'm just going to use the flamethrower and the blunderbusses and just eliminate this unit here. I think that's what I would have done. And in close combat, I kill another anointed and put 2 wounds onto this one. So this one has 1 remaining. My opponent's counting down. Yeah, he sticks around. So I don't take any wounds in return. Because he's hit me on 5s, which is really nice. That's great. He didn't roll well. I think I also made my Aegis save. He got 1 hit through, and I made my Aegis save this time. So we're all sticking around. So the Anointed, I guess, are doing their job for now and just keeping the Manticore out of the game at the moment. So I failed to mention this in the previous turn, but my opponent actually charged my Dread Acolytes with the Shackled Slaves, which for me, I was actually okay with. I know they're unstable, but the Dread Acolyte unit puts out a boatload of high quality attacks. And I think this is only a unit of 20 Shackled Slaves, so I think I was totally happy to take that. But my opponent failed his charge. He needed to roll a 2 to make it in on a single dice, and he rolled a 1. So here's the order of operations now as you see it. I've charged the Obsidian Guard into the flank of the Shackled Slaves, and he held. Now you can only... and then I chose to charge them with the Acolytes, and that's when my opponent fled. And because of the Acolytes' charge range, they are going to easily catch this unit. And so what you do is, because the unit boundaries are frozen, you remove the caught unit at the start of the combat phase, which is also it helps speed things up, I think, as well. And so then the Obsidian Guard have a musician, and they're disciplined, and so I redirect into his Immortals, and then I also throw in the other Temple Militant unit into the Immortals as well, and this is where I choose to pop an Assassin in both the Obsidian Guard and in this Temple Militant unit. And here, I didn't charge, I just moved him right in front basically the temple militants on this side are just going to chaff his blunderbuss unit. They're going to die for the cause. Here you can see I move the Corsair. I'm able to move the Corsairs out of the Torok anointed line of sight. And now I'm also threatening the goblins if he chooses to do anything with the Torok anointed. The black cloaks over here are just chilling. You know, they're having a good day. In Magic, this is where it gets pretty nice with the evocation and alchemy combo. So I throw Spectral Blades first up onto the Obsidian Guard, and my opponent stops it. Then I can effectively get the same result with just a -1 armor, and my opponent has to use all his dice to stop it. And so now I'm able to get up a -1 armor onto the Immortals, and then I get the Hereditary up into the Immortals as well. So now the Temple Militants are also effectively AP2. The Assassins are like... This Assassin is like effectively AP6. So like... or no, AP5, because the Assassins are AP3. This Assassin is, yeah, AP4, of course, and like... anyway, or now AP5 because of the Hereditary and the -1 armor. So it's just like the Obsidian Guard are now effectively AP4 anyway because of the double -2 armor. So it's just like I just got the same effect with 2 spells for 2 cheaper spells for pulling out my opponent's dispel dice for the one big one. So it just really worked out in my favor there. And moving on to close combat. And woof, here is the damage with 2 Assassins and the Kingslayer character. Granted, he also has the Kingslayer character in my unit, onto my unit, but I just absolutely destroy this Immortal unit. He's still stubborn, remember that, he's still stubborn, but I've done so much damage, and he really just didn't do that much back to me in return. Even with half, he was rolling on Snake Eyes to break. And he fails it. And so now with the horror in effect from the Eye of the Gorgon and the -1 courage, that's why he was on Snake Eyes. With the -1 courage, I decided to restrain with the Obsidian Guard to keep me near the objective, and then pursue with the Temple Militants and try and hit his flame cannon essentially. But as you can see, I didn't roll enough, and I missed the flame cannon by an inch. And then I turned the Obsidian Guard to face the blunderbusses here. I think this could have been a mistake by me. I'm wondering, maybe I should have just charged the blunderbusses with the militants. I was just thinking, like, well, he would have had to stand and shoot, and then he has the Volcanic Embrace, and I just lose the unit anyway. So, I don't know. I don't know if this is the smart play or not. But that's what I do. And then the Manticore does finally kill the last Torok anointed. Okay, so here, there's no charges being done. Actually, you can see my opponent saying, you know what, screw it, I'm going to go through the water anyway. And he does, and he doesn't take any DTs. And here he backs up with the blunderbuss unit. He made a bit of a mistake. He forgot to back up enough to make it be to make himself able to stand and shoot the Obsidian Guard once he charges in. Once I charge in, excuse me. So the Obsidian Guard right now are close enough where they won't take a stand and shoot. So I'm happy about that. I also turned my Acolytes in a way to face the Goblin unit, just because I'm aware of restricted attacks. If he were to charge me, I don't know. I'm not sure. I just didn't want to risk something silly happening with the Dread Acolytes being charged in the flank by goblins. So I decided to turn them to look at the front. But then, yeah, my opponent moves the goblins up here to shoot at more temple militants, and yeah, that flamethrower is going to open up, and you'll see in the next picture. Oof, the big round of shooting here. Just the flamethrower, the blunderbusses go into the obsidian guard. Oh my god. That was rough. And you can also see the militants also being completely depleted. So now I'm actually running out of, like, even though my opponent's on some way running out of assets here, but at the same time, like, all my elite units are, like, becoming almost completely null in terms of combat effectiveness. So, that's not good. But yeah, that is how that looks. Just a lot of roasted elves. So on my turn, I'm either gonna get shot, or I'm gonna, or maybe something can happen in close combat, because at this rate there's no going back. So I decide to charge the obsidian guard into the blunderbusses. I chaff with the temple militants into I chaff the anointed so he can't countercharge my obsidian guard or get into the altar. You'll see the Corsairs made a cheeky charge into the rear of the goblins, which was great. Go them. I charged the flame cannon, and then my opponent just elected to hold. Fair enough. And I charged the Dread Acolytes into his fast cav, and then the Merry Christmas Manticore just comes up on the hill, and is looking at everyone and being like, oh yeah, there's a battle over here in the center. In Magic, I get off. My opponent stops the Hereditary, because these guys are actually only AP2. I am able to get off distracting on this unit, and I can't remember if I got anything else off. Might have been a small magic phase, but either way, I do get I at least get a distracting off on the Obsidian Guard. It's also possible I get a -1 armor save up, but we shall see. And this is what it looks afterwards. We cut each other up. The Obsidian Guard actually kind of whiffed a little bit. I was kind of disappointed here. I still killed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, they killed 7. But that's with the assassin in there too. Yeah, the assassin. I remember the assassin kind of whiffed on this round. And then the stupid volcanic embrace kills like 4 or 5 of my obsidian guard, and I was like, oh my god, damn it. But at this rate, both my opponent and I are currently tied on the secondary, because neither of us have gotten it yet, and we're currently tied on the primary because we keep tying each other out on most expensive unit controlling either objective. So this little token is just to mark that this is my opponent's most expensive unit, and that's my secondary. The Corsairs run down the goblins, yay. As you can see here, the Temple Militants eat the Flame Can, and the Dread Acolytes eat the Vassals on the cavalry. So this is unfortunately the last picture of the game. Our store was closing, so we weren't able to get in any more rounds. So it was bottom of 4 when we had to stop. Excuse me. And at this point, you'll see the score come up, but at this point, it looks, if we, stopping the game here, it's pretty conclusive Dread Elf victory. But I think had the game gone on, I do think my opponent gets the Obsidian Guard and possibly one or both these characters. I think my opponent can get the Temple Militants as well with the Anointed. I do think with the combination of Corsairs and my Temple Militants with the Kingslayer person, which technically shouldn't be there, but there's also an assassin in this unit too. I do think I can get this blunderbuss unit, which would give me the secondary. And then the Manticore could come and hopefully clean up the other Torok anointed unit. But it's sort of, I don't know. It's tricky to tell at this point. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. And then losing the Obsidian Guard here and the Assassin and the Master is a lot of points. That's a big point swing for me, or for my opponent, and also could potentially get my opponent the primary if I don't do something about that blunderbuss unit. So we'll go to the points as it stands, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion ending here. All right, so like I said, it's a 16-4 victory with to the Dread Elves at the moment, at the end of round 4, with a tied primary and secondary. But like I said, I think my opponent had an opportunity to score some big points in the later games. So I lost the Black Cloaks up to that point, and my opponent lost his General, his BSB. Oh, we got dirt bikes riding on through Baltimore. Nice. Yeah, Prophet General, BSB, the Levies, the Shackled Slaves, the Immortals, the Fast Cav, 1 unit of Anointed, and then the Flame Cannon. So it was quite a lot of victory points. Alright, post-game thoughts. I thought I had a solid overall game plan to avoid my opponent's range damage, at least for as long as I could. But I wasn't happy with my deployment. I felt like I just, like the Manticore got hung up on the Anointed for a bit too long. I'm wondering, the Acolytes, and I remember the Acolytes couldn't actually see the Anointed because the Manticore was blocking them. So I couldn't actually charge the Anointed to get rid of them a turn earlier. So that's just, I'm not sure if I made the correct decision on how I deployed, especially when you have the altar in the middle doing that 24-inch bubble. I just really wanted that bubble in the middle just in case something happens on that side with the Corsairs. But again, I'm not sure if that's I don't know if that was correct. And then, know your opponent's rules. That's a big one. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize that the Anointed were stubborn. But I mean, I'm not sure how much that changes, but it certainly means that you just need to be conscious of it. And then the micro stuff is, like I said, I took a risk with the Manticore, but it did pay off with my opponent failing the, just a 50-50 courage test there, which shows you if you're planning on charging units, like you have units that you really want to be charging other units, you probably should be paying for a musician just to hope that you can give yourself a better chance of redirecting. I was happy with the fact that I was able to do some cat and mouse shenanigans with the Corsairs. I was really liking that unit, and also liking the potential threat they could have had with an assassin in there had I chosen to use the assassin. Speaking of which, double assassins were great. They do, man, when they're in a combined combat together, even when they're in different units, or when they have to be in different units, they do work. They're great. I like them. And then, like I said, I think my opponent did a mistake with targeting the altar that one turn. I think he could have gotten rid of the militants a turn earlier with his blunderbusses. So, that risk didn't pay off for my opponent in that regard. So just general thoughts on 3.0. I'm having a lot of fun playing it. I'm definitely having more fun playing this version. And I also feel that the games are just going by a lot quicker. Things are just, they're speeding up, which is great. The magic phase, I know it seems overwhelming at first with the amount of dice you can have. Which is why I'm not sure about it yet, because I do think it does favor just investing in magic to just kind of, when you start stacking up, even though the spells aren't necessarily as potent overall as say 2.0, and that's from my perspective, all those little compounding effects just add up when you're just dominating spell after spell, and your opponent can really only, depending on how big the phase is, might only be able to dispel 1 or 2 spells. So I'm not sure about it yet, but I'm a big fan of the frozen unit boundary. That actually, I felt, sped up the game a lot, because we can remove we pull the models to the back, but we know where the unit boundary is, and it just helps things like calculating advantage position, and yeah, I think it helps speed things up from my perspective. So overall, I'm really enjoying playing 3.0. And yeah, here's a big shout out to all the people. So we made this Saturday we did a 3.0 demo day to try and get new people playing the Ninth Age, and this was this so far the only person who's like new in the sense that they haven't played 3.0 yet was our good friend Omar, who I haven't seen in a very long time, and it was really just wonderful to see him again. And this is our club, Titans of Ninth. And yeah, it was cool to have all these people come out to the game store and demo 3.0. Everyone here is familiar with the Ninth Age. We didn't get any like new players, but we'll try again. So that being said, everyone, I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you're digging 3.0 or if you're interested in playing the Ninth Age. Ciao for now, y'all.